Okay, welcome back. Let's get into this.
But it looks like they got the fastest dual cores on the market of any laptop.
Okay, now since you said you haven't looked into this, I'm going to assume that you don't realize that that isn't true. So I'm not saying you're lying because you said you hadn't looked into it. Some of what you're saying is going to be, might be, and in this case is flat out false. As I stated in the previous part, they're not the fastest. The fastest Core 2s are 3.06, but 2.8. If you're going to limit people to two threads, and your argument is faster CPU power, and you're going to confine them to the limitations of a front side bus, then yeah, they should have put the 2.8 to 3.06 gigahertz models in here. But anyways, like I asked you the question in the previous part. Hopefully you or some Apple fanboy will answer it and explain to me why this is a better decision than the i3s.
I'm not going to quote me on that. And they got the 320 NVIDIA graphics and the 13 inches 2.4 gigahertz and 2.66 gigahertz. So basically, there's not a whole lot changed there. But we do get a faster processor, it looks like. And you can add 128 gig SSD for $350. It's a little expensive, but still on the cheaper side. Okay. So I see prices. The only place I see bringing the price of SSDs down is Apple. Apple's going to bring the price of SSDs down for everybody.
Okay, I want to comment on that because that makes an assumption. That makes an assumption that just because the price Apple charges for that one part is less, and I will be the first to admit, I'll be the first to admit that Apple charges less. On the average, other people charge somewhere between $285 to $400 for SSD drives, depending on the size, and Apple charges less. But is it really less if the computer costs that much more? And rather than type hypotheticals, I'm going to do two systems here that are very comparable and comparable. So let's get right into this. Okay. We got the MacBooks. So I can do as close to an apples to apples comparison. First off, let me show you the difference in cost. I'm going to be talking about the 15-inch 2.4 gigahertz, which, as you can see, is an i5, 4 gig of memory, Intel graphics, 320 gigabyte. By the way, it should be noted that that is a 5400 RPM 320 gig hard drive, with no option to add a 7200. Now, let's go over to Lenovo. I'm looking at a T510, which is also a 15-inch system. Same CPU. i5. And they're saying 1066 here because that is the RAM they include, not because it's limited by that song. Anyways, you go on in here, it's got 4 gig of memory. It's got a 320 gigabyte hard drive, except it's a 7200 RPM as opposed to a 5400 RPM hard drive. 15.6 versus 15-inch screen. Not much difference there. Pound per pound, these are very comparable systems. Now let's look at the difference in price. This one, and it has a 9-cell battery, so you can even make arguable comparable life, is roughly $1150. For those of you who don't remember, the MacBook Pro is about $1,800. That is a difference of $650, roughly 50 cents on the dollar. So you're paying $650 more to save. Let's go in here and select solid state drive. 128 is 300. Okay, So you're spending $600. Now, this one, because it's already shipped overnight, or we'll do this one. And you're honestly going to tell me you can't get... Actually, I'll do the other comparison in a minute. You're going to tell me for $650 you can't buy a solid-state drive somewhere. Even full retail, they don't cost. The little 128 does not cost $650. So you're paying for that solid-state drive. You're paying for it big time. So, okay. Let's now, we're looking at, now let's get back to this. Let's do this true side-by-side comparison. You know, now let's see if that difference remains true. Now first off, let's add the 4 gigabyte. I'm going to do the 1067 because Apple's doing the 1066. Not the 1333 that you should throw in here. And my price is still, you know, almost $600 less. So let's look at the hard drives. And the 128 is actually cheaper than Apple. Let's look at this. $128 gigabyte solid state serial ATA from Apple is $280. Let's go to apple.com. 128 gigabyte solid state drive, $300. So it's $20 more. And I'm paying $600 more for the system. Okay. You know, and here I have a dual layer DVD drive. So it's like, oh, and also, you know, hell, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and we'll add the $50 add-on option for a better battery. You know, cameras included, obviously. Alright. So for $1,600, I've got solid state. Where with Apple, it's almost $2,100. So let's see, $1,650 or $1,644 versus $2,099. Yeah, Apple's really bringing the price down. Now let's do another comparison. Let's add up to the i5 2.53. Let's see where that sends my price. No, that's only $50. So I got a $1,700 system with a solid state drive. Let's go back to Mac. Let's see how much that is. Again, I'm doing like for like. The only thing I'm tweaking is the solid state. $2,199 versus $1,700. No, maybe it's the 17-inch he's talking about. And you know what? Let's go ahead and do like to like. Let's use the 2.66 i7. 1850 versus 2,700. Like to like. Like to like. Don't assume just because part A is cheaper over here that it's cheaper. You are paying for that big time in the price of a Mac. It's like at no point here did the Mac get any less than $500 more than the comparable PC. At no point. And I'm doing like to like, and I'm adding solid state, so it's like I agree is a good thing on a mobile system if you don't need an extensive amount of storage.